Alright. It says the stream has started. I'm gonna trust it on this one. I couldn't tell you why my webcam's not working because I'm pretty sure for the most part, my webcam usually works, but so for some reason it just doesn't now. Here, let me pull out Word real quick, but I don't know, man. But anyway, so we're going to go over here and we're going to do some research. So right here we have pulled up, well, let me just explain. I did some searching before this, just a little bit, like a couple of minutes, looking things up. Relationship between personality traits and marital satisfaction. Here's one study. Here's just a definition for some trait in psychology, and here's the big five personality traits. This isn't exactly what I'm interested in, as there's still that one. I don't know what it is. It has like 16 personality traits or 32. It has like 8 different letters, or 10, I guess. I don't know. But yeah. We will see how it goes. I'm actually interested in to see if there's like a statistical difference in relationship synergies, because I mean they're kind of, I expect there to be, but I don't know how. Well, I mean, I have an idea of how you do a statistical analysis on that, and I kind of want to like try it at my school, and I feel like in like not even marital but just dating relationships, in terms of length, and happiness in them, I feel like the synergies might be different among age groups, which would make sense. And then there's the question is, like, are these prevalences, if they are there, is like differences in correlations between higher happiness in a relationship and personality types / traits, are they common between all different cultures and geographical regions and religious institutions and stuff? And if that's the case, does it mean it provides an evolutionary safe blanket for people who do have those personality traits, right? Because confidence, which results up here, extroversion, which includes confidence, has a high correlation coefficient to happiness and marital satisfaction, right? So if that's the case, is confidence in humans an important trait evolutionary wise? Because you'll see humans are a sociable species now. I wouldn't take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I'm not an expert in this field in the slightest. I'm Google searching this stuff, guys, but if so, how does confidence, would reading with confident people result in higher fitness, or being confident a result of higher fitness? And if so, is it the same for each and every one of these traits? Because you see, for some reason, you have only one negative trait, and we'll go through what these traits mean in a little bit. But is neuroticism also healthy? Well, would it still be prevalent if it wasn't useful evolutionary in terms of fitness? But that's something that I think would be super interesting to research. And if I can't find the answers here, I mean, I'm sure there's studies done. Personality is a huge deal, and among the public interest, it's also apparently super exciting. I've never understood it. If you like the person, you like the person. There's no reason to go in depth. They're all right, what do I know exactly? Do I know exactly what a Leo likes. I mean, they just know the person, I guess. I do understand like the basics of wanting to know what a like certain personality would in general bring to the table, because I know there definitely are parts of personality tests that do give information or insight onto, like who you are as a person, and just a little bit. Of course, there's something called the Barnum Effect, I believe. Um, yeah, so basically, the Barnum Effect, as seen here in psychology, is when you have information that's presented to you that's like really vague, you tend to believe it's true because it's so vague it doesn't serve any purpose. It's like me saying, man, one of these days you can have a good day. I mean, yeah. We're gonna perceive that as true. We can look at like you can see examples for these things. Barnum for I don't know how you say that for. I'm terrible with R's, but yeah. Let's just read through some of these in order to understand this, because it uses the big five in psychology. Let's first understand what the big five is, because when I read this, I had no clue what these are. So, the Big Five model, also known as the five-factor model, is the most widely accepted personality theory held by psychologists today. This theory states that it can be boiled down to five core factors: conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness to experience, and extroversion. So, conscientiousness, wow, I cannot speak today, is impulsive and disorganized versus disciplined and careful. So how conscious you are of your actions and how your actions may affect your future. I'm guessing this is my first time hearing not the word but these definitions. So do take what I say with a grain of salt. Agreeableness. So uncooperative versus trusting helper. Kind of axiomatic, self-explanatory there. Neuroticism. So calm and confident versus anxious and pessimistic. So I looked this one up with a separate source. And I think this one gives a little bit better detail as opposed to the top of that one, which is saying the degree of which a person experiences towards distressing, threatening, and unsafe. So between the two poles, which are perfect emotional stability, and then versus emotional chaos. So neurotic individuals tend to be anxious, tense, and withdrawn. And calm, confident. So it's just basically how you feel about life, I believe. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. Openness to experience. You get the spontaneity and imagination versus routine and practical. And then extroversion is you're more reserved versus you're more sociable. So that most of these are self-explanatory. Some of them might be a little ambiguous, but I think it's nothing we can't figure out. So, unlike trait theories that certain binary categories like introvert and extrovert, the Big Five model asserts that each personality trait has a spectrum. Therefore, individuals are ranked on a scale between the two extreme ends, and that makes sense to me. Extroversion, you cannot be purely extroverted or introverted. You're always going to be somewhere in the middle, and I think that is definitely the case for most people. There are some people I know that just do not have a limit. Like one guy wears a shirt of his face, and I could not walk around with like that. That is embarrassing to me, and it's, what was it called? Durkheim's theory of deviance? Is that what that was? I don't know. But there's a theory, there has to be deviance in society to justify the need of a social norm. Also, bullying happens in different animal species as well. It's crazy. But that doesn't matter. Ranking individuals on these traits is possible to effectively measure individual personality, differences in personality. Right, so we have these three. So history and background. Going off out Henry Albert, first for a list, 4,500 terms. So they, original founders of dimensions of personality. A statistical factor analysis, don't know what that is, to narrow down to the list, so they just narrowed it to 16. And then all these important names in psychology reduced it to these 5 traits. Lewis Goldberg, he was an advocate for the 5 personality traits, for 5 primary factors, and expanded upon of McCrae and Costa. Motivating with Big 5. Okay, population and coaches, that seems effective. Well, that's what I wanted to see. So this is just trying to get as broad as you can get. Gregariousness, sociable, assertiveness, forceful, activity, energetic, excitement, seeking adventures, positive emotions, enthusiastic and warmth, outgoing. So extroversion includes all of these things. So that's crazy. So it's not completely exhaustive. It just covers virtually all personality related terms. So from one of these, you couldn't like specify, I think, exactly how each individual term or each individual trait would be, but you can get a general scale of things. So that's pretty cool. So high score usually goes, for most of these, good. So curious, hardworking, outgoing, helpful, and then neuroticism is the tendency towards unstable emotions and pro-negative emotions. It's not as great. Focus on conceptualizing traits as a spectrum rather than black and white categories. It recognizes that most individuals, I'd say, I mean, I am one when I have to be, but I feel that most of the time I would rather just, sit back, watch things happen. Conscientious describes a person's ability to regulate their impulse control in order to engage in goal-directed behaviors. It measures elements such as control, inhibition, and persistency of behavior. So I'm competent. I would say I'm disorganized, but I know everything is. But I'm still gonna say disorganized. I don't think I'm careless. I strive for achievements, but I procrastinate on that striving, so I guess I'm both of those. In some sense, I'm self-disciplined, but I'm definitely impulsive for some of my scholarly work. Like right now, this was just like, wow, this is like cool, so I did that. There's this lack of direction. Feeling goals, they tend to be more disorganized and may dislike too much structure. They may also engage in more impulsive and careless behavior. I've never really liked structure because there was always somebody telling me how to structure things. But I think as I have grown older, it's definitely become the case that structure has felt nice in some sense. Well, I mean, change is like 9. It's 9 out of 10. It's like a good thing, but it's always a pain to go through. But structure, I think, is always nice. I will say, was it psychological? What's it called? There is a term. Let's see. I'm trying to find it. Oh yeah. Psychological reactance. So basically, this is just like how reverse psychology works, I think. But what it is Reactance is an unpleasant motivational arousal to offers persons rules or regulations that don't eliminate specific behavior or freedom. So when somebody says, yeah, like, do not press, you're going to press it. Do not look, you're going to look. I think it's similar to reverse psychology, but I haven't done enough in-depth research to say that for certain. So I feel like in this category, I do like being disciplined and having a schedule and so forth, a routine structure. But somebody telling me what that structure is and has to be definitely deters me. Like your mother telling you to go clean your room, you'd like hate that. But if you, like, eventually you're gonna see it's a mess and like, oh, I should clean this. So agreeableness refers to how people tend to treat relationships with others, unlike extroversion, which consists of the pursuit of relationships. Agreeableness focuses on people's orientation and interactions with others. Man, this is really making it seem like a bad person. It's definitely calling me out here. So treat relationships with others. I tend to forget and forgive a lot of the times, but recently that has changed a little bit. I'm skeptical of most people's feelings with me, but other than that, I'm usually trustworthy. Would I say I wouldn't say I'm like super demanding. I will say, for some reason, I have no clue why. I might look into this more, but I really enjoy helping people when I can, even if like I can't help. I enjoy trying to be there. But for some reason, as people get closer and closer to me, it tends to diverge to like belittling, but not like belittling, but just like sarcasm. I tend to become kind of sardonic towards people that are close to me. I have no clue why. I would say I'm a little bit stubborn, but I can't tell if that's just because I'm like, a high schooler. I'm like, oh, it has to be my way. But if they provide evidence as to why they're right, then I will comply there. And I've recently, I think I've become a little more compliant with, well, just conscientious of, people's different mindsets and so forth. In this one, I used to be like super modest in all my scores, and I still tend to try to be modest. Like test scores, I usually don't show off unless it's something I'm really proud of. I'll be like, I'm so happy I got this, or so forth. That is something I'm confident in. I'll try to show off a little, just because I have a terrible need for a I don't know, literally things. What do they call it? External validation. Yeah. This one really depends on the situation I'm in, because from what I've seen so far in relationships with other people myself, it is really, really easy to take the moral high ground and act sympathetic when you have nothing to lose. I've seen this with a lot of people that they're all like, oh, you shouldn't be with that, blah, 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 blah. Right? And I'm like, yeah, obviously. But just depending on what side you're in, you can either be like super sympathetic, or you're like, I do not care how you feel, it has to be this way, or so forth. And I think that definitely changes as the situation changes. But in general, I'd say I'm usually more sympathetic and empathetic towards things, because in my experience, although as callous as I might seem, it does hurt to see people also hurt. So yeah, but whatever. Agreeableness versus antagonism. Soft-hearted, trusting, real life. They are sensitive to the needs of others, helpful and cooperative. Keep people who regard them as trustworthy and altruistic. They still have agreeableness because they're suspicious, manipulative, and uncooperative. They may be antagonistic. When acting, feel like and trusted. I don't know. I think people usually trust me and stuff. I don't know. I haven't asked them, but whatever. Tendency and intensity to which someone seeks interaction with their environment, particularly socially, encompasses comfort and assertiveness levels of people and situations, social situations, from which somebody draws energy. So, ooh, I will say that I think, from what I've heard and experienced, this also just depends on the group you are with, because when I'm out in public with a group that I'm not too familiar with, I tend to stray on the side of reserved and solidity. But if it's people I know, I'll try to be a little more outgoing because I don't want to just be the guy that just sits there and does nothing. But I will say, it is so tiring to try to be excited. Like, it's just not my style. So I would say I'm more on the introverted side usually, unless I have to be extroverted. Um, I'm not comfortable with voicing my opinion. I am excited to be around others though. Like when we're talking about something exciting, like something I enjoy. It definitely is exciting, but I don't know if that's extroverted or just talking with similarities. Um, Introverts try and learn. Okay, openness to experience. Gives the ability to think outside the box. Um, I'd say I'm curious and imaginative. I'd say I'm these three, if I want to be. Usually in school, I try to be these three. Um, but I will say, I think there's a big difference between opening or trying to be open to new things and routine, because it's not like I don't want to try new things. I just don't have anybody to try them with, and without that anchor, it's kind of weird, you know. And then unconventional versus traditional. I mean, I usually prefer traditional things, but I'd say I'm somewhere in the middle there. Um, um, like for people that often find difficult to think creatively or abstractly. Um, I don't think I'm creative. I think I just need specific outlets for creativity. Cause I'd say I'm more of a I'd say I'm like equally artsy and practical because I play an instrument, and I really enjoy playing an instrument because you can exert so much emotion through that. And it's really interesting to like come up with like I was playing Hounds of Spring one time with my ensemble, and it was really funny because I came up with like some entire scenario in my head the year before we played Holt's Suite, I think second suite, I don't know, and I had like 5 movements or something, and with that one I did write like a 2 page, like not 2 pages isn't a lot, but like I wrote a whole story, like a short story about some guy, whatever. It was cool. So I would say I'm kind of in the middle there. Neuroticism, emotional stability, uh, propensity to experience negative emotions. Definitely here. Um, I worry a lot. I'd say I'm calm usually and resilient, but there has been times where that has definitely not been the case. But I would say my normal is calm and resilient. Um, I try to. I usually don't feel sad or depressed, especially when I have like something to do. Um, Emotional stability. Um, I do experience a lot of stress, but if I tend, if I just don't think about it, it's not there, right? Okay. Um, Moody and irritable. I am prone to sadness and self self esteem. So yeah, that makes sense. Stability of these traits. remain relatively stable most of their life. Some slight changes from childhood to adulthood. Here we go. Agreeableness and conscientiousness increase with age. No significant trend for extroversion, but gregariousness, as we defined above, is, let's see, socialism. Not sociable. Being sociable, and that definitely decreases, it says. And assertiveness or forcefulness increases. Openness to experience and neuroticism decrease slightly from adolescence to middle adulthood. But they saw that there's significant trends in specific facets rather than the big 5 overall. Alright, and now we have the argument of nature versus nurture, which is crazy. So, like with all theories of personality, Big 5 is influenced by both nature and nurture. Twin studies have found that heritability and variance can be attributed to genes from about 40 to 60%, which is actually that's pretty cool, actually. 20 pairs of identical twins and 27 pairs of fraternal twins. They estimated the heritability of conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness to experience, and extroversion. 44, 41, 41, 46, and 53, respectively. So here again we have the neuroticism as a little bit of an outlier, not too much. Similar to another study where the heritability of consciousness of these were relatively the same, we do see neuroticism is a bit lower here, but other than that are relatively close in values. So they are significantly influenced by genes, and all 5 traits are equally heritable. Heritability for males and females do not seem to differ significantly. Studies from different countries also support the idea of strong genetic basis for the big 5 personality traits. Gender differences. Differences in big 5 personality traits between genders have been observed, but these differences are small compared to differences between individuals with the same gender. So while there is a general trend, a small general trend is not large enough in magnitude to be like something I'm worried about, because you have individuals of the same gender that have a larger difference in these traits. Modest, consistent, and replicable. Assertiveness and openness to ideas. Okay. The interesting finding was that bigger gender differences were reported in Western industrialized countries. First finding was attribution process used. Okay. They surmised that actions of women in individualistic countries would be more likely to be attributed to her personality, whereas actions of women in collectivistic countries would be more likely to be attributed to the compliance with general norms. Individualist, and then we have collective, yeah. I think this Meyer study would be something to, Mm. Mm. Makes sense. All right. I think looking into the Myers 2011 study would definitely be a good idea. Um, let's see if we can find that down here. Myers. Mm. Well, we'll have to see with that one. Let's go with here then. So now that we've reviewed those traits, we can go in here and do this. 18 correlation studies without any time limitations, sample of 4,049 individuals. So this R just means correlation coefficient. So as this trait gets larger, how does that correlate with a marriage satisfaction? And the same goes with here, and here. Alright, couples high neuroticism experience lower levels of marital satisfaction, and couples high conscientiousness are most satisfied with marital life. That seems kind of self-explanatory, but let's read it anyway. Many couples see marriage as a sacred covenant. Many family structures depend on the couple's relationship quality. Dysfunctional marital relationships or unsuccessful marriages not only threaten couples' mental health, but also endanger the survival of the family unit, despite the fact that half of the first marriages in the United States end in divorce. The decision to divorce does not necessarily mean that people do not want to remarry and have a happy life. Therefore, 2/3 of couples in the U.S. usually remarry within 5 years after a divorce. Marital satisfaction that results from sexual and emotional satisfaction is a measure of a couple's relationship quality, showing their subjective evaluation of the quality of the relationship. Marital satisfaction is a multidimensional concept comprising of different aspects of marital relation, including adjustment, happiness, integrity, and commitment. Marital satisfaction is a multidimensional concept comprising of different aspects of marital relationship. It's a mental state that is not achieved automatically, but requires the ongoing efforts to realize it, especially in the early years of marriage, because in this stage, marital satisfaction is unstable, and marital relationship lacks in states of the long-term ideal. Marital relationship requires the people an assessment of their partner go beyond physical characteristics and personal values, and the attitudes influence marital satisfaction and can predict higher levels of marital satisfaction in couples. Okay. Personality traits are among the factors influencing marital satisfaction. Concluded that personality predicts life satisfaction. There's a bond between two different personalities. On the other hand, people tend to impose their behavior and performance characteristics to a partner. Therefore, their personality can act as a stress in their relationship. For many years, it was a challenge for researchers to define personality. Therefore, different definitions were provided for this concept. Although there are many definitions to personality traits today, most research create the 5-factor model. They're the 5 factors we read out about before. Gregarious, social, altruism, conscientious people tend to be trustworthy and self-disciplined, and aim for achievement. People traits can have different attitudes towards different aspects of marital satisfaction. Okay. Can be one of the factors associated with divorce. Already in studies on this subject reported inconsistent results. Some studies have not led to comprehensive results and have only assessed the relationship of one personality trait, especially neuroticism, with marital satisfaction. Therefore, this systematic review and meta-analysis is aimed at examining the association between marital satisfaction and personality traits in the Iranian population. Not exactly what we were looking for, but I feel like it's pretty fun. Prisma statement. Okay. Search. To assess personality traits and the enriched marital satisfaction ability. Studies that had now reported the correlation of all personality traits with marital satisfaction were excluded. Two authors of the present study independently reviewed the collection articles based on the inclusion and exclusion criteria. They first screened the article based on titles and abstracts, and then reviewed the full text of the article. Was any disagreement between the two authors was resolved by asking the opinion of the third author. Okay. This is a lot of grammatical errors for a study. And the mean was determined for each study. R values. Exercise using the random effects model and chi-square test and the I-squared index were used to assess heterogeneity. I-squared value considered low heterogeneity, 20 on average, and having less high heterogeneity. Proportions. Variety methods were used to assess the cause of heterogeneity among the selected studies, and these used to examine potential publication bias. Articles exclusion, you have to title and abstract screening. Full text articles assessed for eligibility. Full text. Okay, that's how they got these 18. Correlational studies without any time until yeah, look at that. Missing an L. These characteristics of these studies. Version. Government employees and general Gen Pop. The findings based on the populations indicated that in both groups the highest correlation was between marital conscientiousness and neuroticism. Okay, based on the article, region indicated, and all regions of brand, the highest correlation between marital neuroticism based on the article language showed that marital had the highest correlation with conscious. Alright, so it does say highest with conscientiousness and lowest with neuroticism. Correlation between dimensions of neos and mares. The present study aimed at examining the correlation between marital satisfaction had a negative correlation with neuroticism, finding this in line with the findings of a longitudinal study by Coughlin et al. A longitudinal study by Fisher and McNulty with 72 couples in Ohio, United States. High levels of neuroticism predicted low levels of marital satisfaction 1 year later. Individuals high neuroticism often experience such feelings as sorrow, anger, and dissatisfaction with self. feelings that can reduce their overall happiness in life because these people are more likely to be moody and irritable. They are not expected to experience higher levels of marital satisfaction. Research showed that neuroticism reduced marital satisfaction. Neuroticism experienced 2% variance of marital satisfaction. Wow. Terapia, Teraphysia, I don't know how you say that. Notice that people high in neuroticism feel less happiness because they put more emphasis on negative life events. Okay. Other reasons for low include negative interpretation of ambiguous events, negative interactions with partner, negative interpersonal behavior during conflict, and higher aggression externalization, and lower levels of sexual satisfaction. Okay. Which would, all lower marital satisfaction. That makes sense. Attitude affects marital satisfaction due to the effect that depends on personality. Human people with different personality traits have different attitudes towards marriage, and this can influence their marital satisfaction. In the present study, we aim to examine the association between marital satisfaction and personality traits in Iranian older people high in neuroticism, and they cope with life stressors, less adaptively, and are more likely to interpret a number of situations as threatening or small frustrations as severe despair. Life satisfactions have many ups and downs that require patience and forgiveness from both partners, but people high in neuroticism tend to get stressed out and moody in the face of these problems, therefore jeopardizing not only their marital relationships but their social and professional lives. Okay. Maybe through creating anxiety, tension, pity, seeking hostility, impulsivity, depression, low self-esteem, personality traits like emotional instability, neuroticism may keep couples in a persistent state of vulnerability and influence the way they adapt to life stressors. 13-year longitudinal study among couples indicate that negative marital interactions result from high neuroticism. In other words, it is found that people high in neuroticism tend to display negative behavior towards their partners that in turn reduce marital satisfaction in both partners. Alright. At present, a strong correlation was found between marital satisfaction and conscientiousness, and is consistent with the findings of Claxton et al. Given the conscientious people are self-disciplined, principled, and able to effectively handle relationship issues, they are expected to experience high levels of marital satisfaction. And et al. Found the conscientiousness was the best predictor of couple intimacy and commitment in men. They maintained that conscientious people showed higher levels of intimacy in their relationships, therefore they are more able to build successful relationships. Study of 47 people who have been married for 15 years found that marital satisfaction had a strong correlation with extroversion and conscientiousness. In a longitudinal study conducted in Switzerland, satisfaction in intimate couples was found to be correlated with agreeableness and conscientiousness. Marital dissatisfaction was low conscientiousness and high neuroticism. Framed from showing aggression and capable of controlling their impulses in marital relationships, Ahadi maintains that individuals' low conscientiousness towards alcohol and physical aggression as a response to marital stressors, and this gradually reduces their marital satisfaction. The present study was aimed at examining the relationship between marital satisfaction, personality traits, and the Iranian population. The main limitation of the study was that most of the articles reviewed had not provided adequate information on the subject under study or had only examined the relationships of marital satisfaction with neuroticism while ignoring the other four aspects. The limitation was the lack of access to psych-info as a popular database. However, reviewing other articles and checking the reference lists of the cited articles helped us make sure that the related studies conducted in Iran were collected and analyzed as much as possible. So, in conclusion, studies indicate that high neuroticism had low levels of marital satisfaction and high conscientiousness when more satisfied. Personality traits are relatively stable over time. They can be used to predict individual behaviors in different life situations, including marriage relationship. From knowledge of the personality traits performed to lower marital satisfaction, they increase the risk of separation and divorce, and also the personality traits that are associated with a better, healthier, and more stable marital relationship. Given the mutual relationship between personality and interpersonal relationships, healthcare providers, including psychologists and marriage counselors, need to pay more attention to these variables and the relationship between them, because evaluation Personality traits of partners may have a considerable role in partner selection and in avoiding marital maladjustment and marital satisfaction, and the improper partner selection can lead to personality problems to creating marital maladjustment. The findings of the present study can help healthcare officials in analyzing personality traits and marital satisfaction, therefore taking appropriate measures to strengthen the marital relationship of our ranking couples. Nice, and here we have all the sources listed. 47, nice, good one. So that's interesting and I guess kind of self-explanatory. So the biggest one seems to be conscientiousness and neuroticism. Yeah, that makes sense. Thoughtful, careful, disciplined, organized, all that stuff would make sense. And then, not having a stable personality would definitely result in marital dissatisfaction. Yeah, those results do make sense. Not exactly what I was looking for, so let's see. Personality test. Myers-Briggs. Statistical compatibility. Let's look up Myers-Briggs or so. Personality. Valid. Okay. Let's just look at the abstract here. It is frequently used by health professionals, education, address the diversity of personalities that exist. No systematic review of the literature or meta-analysis of its validity and reliability has occurred. This comprehensive literature search identified 221 potential studies, of which 7 met our inclusion criteria. 4 of the studies examined construct validity, but their varying methods did not permit pooling for meta-analysis. These studies agree that the instrument has reasonable construct validity. The 3 studies of test-retest reliability did allow a meta-analysis to be performed, albeit with caution due to substantial heterogeneity. Results indicate that the extrovert, introvert, sensing, intuition, and judging perceiving subscales have a satisfactory reliability of 0.75 or higher, and that the thinking, feeling subscale has a reliability of 0.61. The majority of studies were conducted on college-age students, thus the evidence to support the tool's utility applies more to this group and carefully thought should be given when applying it to other individuals. Alright. Let's see. Do I have access to this? Hold on. Let me just turn this off for a second. Ooh, look at this, look at this, look at this. We get 100 free articles with my Rolling Strings, or my high school, right? This is a very annoying thing to read off of. But you know what? We'll try it. Yeah, that's what we just read. It's the abstract introduction. Personality is commonly used to is a commonly used term with a meaning that most of us readily comprehend, and yet is an elusive concept to fully describe or quantify. Broadly defined, it is the combination of individuals' cognitive, emotional, attitudinal, and behavioral response patterns. It has been studied since antiquity, with Hippocrates being among the first to describe personality by grouping individuals into temperaments that related to particular characteristics of types. Since then, countless theories and instruments have attempted to explicate and measure differences in personality more fully. Included in these measurements are the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which is reportedly to be one of the most widely used instruments in the world for understanding personality differences. Mbti is used extensively in human resource management and is one of the most commonly used instruments in higher education, research, and counseling. Its application in medical education is quite varied and includes studies of how certain preferences affect decision-making and how knowledge of an individual's type can enhance communication. Moreover, addressing the differences in type and preferences between instructors and students may minimize negative outcomes in both academic and clinical settings. In the Alice experience, we used Mbti as both education and academic advisement tool. Our occupational therapy and physical therapy students learn about the 16 Mbti types and how differing preferences can influence interactions with members of the healthcare team and with patients and their loved ones. We also provide academic advisors and clinical instructors with information about individual student types that includes tips grounded in the Mbti literature on how to enhance their learning, communication, feedback based on student experience. Although we pay attention to the preferences of all students, we also examine the preferences of learners from diverse backgrounds to determine if any trends exist in personality type. In an ongoing effort to use the best evidence to inform our educational program, we wanted to understand the psychometric properties of Mbti to determine whether we should continue to use it with our students. Since its inception, numerous studies have examined various aspects, including many related to validity and reliability. Over the past 30 years, a number of reliability thorough reviews of the literature regarding these features of the Mbti have appeared, including a compendium of research by the publishers of the tool itself. However, neither is systematic in nature, nor did any apply the guidelines of the Cochrane collaboration, considered the standard for comprehensive literature searches and quality appraisal. 2002, Capraro, conducted a meta-analytic reliability generalization study of articles investigating a number of psychometric properties of Mbti. However, the scope of the study was limited to articles published between 1998 and 2001. To date, we could find no completed systematic review of literature or in-depth meta-analysis of studies that meet these standards. Is actually suggested by the Cochrane collaboration to assess the psychometric properties of Mbti. Okay. The Mbti measures the degree to which an individual prefers to operate from 4 dichotomous type pairs using a series of forced choice questions that represent behavioral preferences according to Jung's theory of types. It proposes that everyone has a natural preference for one of the two opposites in each of 4 scales, emphasizing that one preference is not better than another. I find that hard to believe. According to supporters of the Mbti, this distinguishes it from most psychological zones. It raises the word preference and uses single letters of the alphabet to denote its preferences. The definition of each Mbti preference show a distinct link with Jung's original definitions. tendency to focus on the outer world. Yeah, introversion, sensing the eyes, ears, and other senses. Observant, intuition, taking by seeing the big picture, relationships, and connections between facts. Intuition to grasp patterns and is particularly adept at seeing new possibilities and different perspectives. Other connections. Non judging, acts and planned early way with a desire to regulate and control it. Spontaneously seeking to experience and understand life rather than control it. Honest to experience and last minute options. They might treat each preference treats each preference. There's no principal functions or subordinate functions as described by Jung, I don't know. Given 4 specific kinds of preference, they can occur in any combination. There's 16 different personality types in the Mbti. 4 letters represent the gene type. Alright. It's 7th edition. Iterations, F. Right. G. Neurotypes. Mbti instruments that explore type more deeply are the step 2 and subsequent revised form Q. Step 3. Step 2 explores differences within the same type, and step 3 is observation only by consciously trained individual in one-on-one sessions. There are currently 4 distinct forms of the Mbti, each differing. Yeah. It's translation of continuous scale scores into nominal categories of preference, or whether it reflects the state in which it was based. The neutron does not know the response to a median or neutral response. They must choose a response that places them into one preference or the other. So, results deviate from Planck's original theory, lead to questions regarding the validity and reliability of Mbti. Key values of an assessment tool such as Mbti are validity and reliability relate to aspects of construction, evaluation, documentation as described as standards of education and psychological testing. Really is the degree to which evidence and theory supports the interpretation of scores, the proposed uses of the test, construct validity, versus the extent to which a test actually measures what the theory says it does. Reliability is the degree to which scores for an individual or group are consistent over repeated administrations of the same test. Test-retest reliability assesses the degree to which test scores are consistent from one test administration to the next. And then internal consistency reliability assesses the stability of results across items within a test. Alright, so they're just giving us a bunch of definitions there of words. And definitions they are using in this manner or as defined by several associations in educational and psychological institutions. At present, no complete studies investigate the breadth of articles published, but Mbti performed an in-depth analysis of psychometric properties of the instrument as a whole or its various forms. The systematic research meta-analysis seeks to inform a research question in the adult population. Is the Mbti a useful test in terms of construct validity, retest reliability, and or internal consistency reliability in determining personality preference in the areas of inward or outward focus, informational processing, decision-making, and organization. Methods. Rating years in order. So this is criterion, rationale, side. I'm not going to do like a full analysis on this paper. I just need to know what it's saying, basically. If I was going to use it as a source, I'd have to understand where it's getting its, let's see, I definitely have to understand where it's getting its, methodology and stuff from, and if it makes sense or not, but right now I'm not here to analyze this. Okay. They had no studies of internal consistency or reliability. So construct validity and studies of retest reliability. So I guess all things have this and what sources they used as a meta-analysis. Nice. I excluded from the review during this phase of appraisal process that 2 assessors agreed on 24 studies for inclusion and 185 exclusion for an agreement of 94.57%. Different opinion on 12 studies for which the remaining authors CC served to break the tie. Sure that the study met one of my other reasons for exclusion existed, and then they exclusion on. Alright, this is just continuing source, evaluation, and selection by source. Adjudicated score. Oh my goodness, there's so much just. Alright, here we go. Data analysis and results. There is a lot that goes into meta-analysis studies, huh? The amount of things you have to know here is crazy. Alright. Data analysis. We conducted a preliminary analysis of the data using Medcalc statistical software to calculate I-squared and Cochran skew to assess for heterogeneity. The literature varies on exactly how many studies are required to effectively conduct a meta-analysis. When studies are statistically homogeneous. Oh my goodness. We viewed from a fixed effects perspective, and subjects from as few as 2 studies can be pooled for meta-analysis. The alternative, using a random effects approach, in which some variability of studies is assumed, is appropriate only for studies in which the variability is reasonable. As the heterogeneity of the effects of multiple studies increases, the appropriateness for pooling the data decreases. Okay. So here it's just, what is this saying? Let's see. What is heterogeneity and okay, variability and intervention effects were evaluated. Different results. Methodological diversity. Okay. So if the methodology things were like super spread out, or heterogeneity is super high, then pulling the data is not as appropriate. That makes sense. Okay. Let's probably go over. The graphing information providing the user's combined quality ranking based on 20-point scale developed a priori. Only validity and reliability studies involving forms F and G on the Mbti were included in the systematic Agreeableness studies of this current form are among those that remain after the two. This is a review. And here we have the chart of the sources used. Okay. Quality scores of the included studies range from 9 to 14. Possible 40, 20, the most frequent missing information that resulted in decreased quality, missing data, management of outliers, disclosure to conflicts of interest, rationale supporting the choice of sample size, description of evaluative training, and description of criteria used to include or exclude participants. Okay, so clearly, when you're writing a study, you have to mention so much about your criteria and why you do things. I see now why. Validity, construct validity. My analysis of 4 studies of construct validity as a full group was not possible because they examined different aspects of construct validity or differed in method of analysis. Because we randomly pull data for my analysis, we can summarize the findings of these individual studies. Factor analysis of validity. Use conformatory factor analysis of a sample of 1,030 million adults. And also concluded there were no significant differences in scores on the Mbti between genders. Factor analysis on relations conducted at all for clear some instructions with result and favorable factors being matched almost perfectly to the theoretical scales of Mbti. They also found no differences between males and females, however they did not report the exact number of each in the study for the relations of subjects' raw scores of the 8 preference polls of Mbti indicated strong differences. Okay. Let's see here. 3 studies that examined retest reliability and meta-inclusion criteria all reported Pearson product moment correlation coefficients for each of the Mbti subscales, allowing for pooling of the data for meta-analysis. The number of subjects from the 3 studies of retest reliability of the Mbti totaled 314, which includes 70 females, 60 males. All 3 studies occurred in the United States. The subject other students different on education, some on medical school, others in math, and psychology. Hello.
Hello, you working?
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going fine.
You getting done?
Yeah, I'm just reading some things.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't stand here all night.
I will.
I'm in there by myself.
Oh, it sucks.
Did you have me some coffee?
Yeah.
Well, take a break and go take a ride or go run or go to the gym for a little bit. Take a break. You've been in here since you took Mary.
I know.
Okay? You need to take a little break.
I might.
Okay?
Okay. I am definitely not taking a break. Okay, alright. I guess we should speed through this then.
What's up, Mercy? You want to go outside? You want to go outside?
Okay. Okay. So make sure I know it. Validity. Okay, yeah. How will it score is based on theoretical things. Alright. It's not possible. Guidelines recommend that tests for bias be funnel plot. The symmetry must involve at least 10 studies because the power of the test with few studies is too low to distinguish chance from asymmetry. The quality of the included studies is variable, with the highest ranked article meeting only 7% of the criteria developed. A priori from a number of what is that? What does priority mean? Priority. Def. Something can be known without experience of sense data. Using distinct type of knowledge. Whereas knowledge is independent from current experience. Okay. Inclusion criteria. Small. For that main art, inclusion criteria agree that the instrument has a reasonable function. The negative correlations of the 8 preferences reported by saying that all seem to support the theoretical and sound concept of the economist. However, a systematic review of the literature would be good considering disagreement. Demonstrating convergence of the studies one on its usage. Scores on the idea of motives for dinners and one study. It is advisable how you error the subjects and to the abilities for college. Okay. For a correlation reliable between taking and retaking the instrument. It is important the sensitivity has to produce similar coefficients and dynamic confidence. And although the pooled number of subjects for retest reliability increased, we still lack sufficient studies to adequately decrease heterogeneity and perform additional analyses, including bottom plots. All of the subjects in the studies of reliability were university students. Appropriate applications may be in academic science. A review of the literature that Mbti has been used in combination with other matters as part of the administration admissions process for following acceptance to predict grade point average, academic difficulty, and clinical performance of various health professions. Ooh. Others, many other variables have influence on these outcomes. Aspects of diversity, including ethnicity and gender, have also been linked with personality performance. Given the multiple variables that can influence academic success, and that a key element of the Mbti's theoretical perspective is that one performance preference is no better or worse than another, the Mbti might be best used to inform teaching advisement methods rather than screening tool for admissions. By understanding how students process and evaluate information and make decisions, educators can tailor curricula to meet various modes of learning, as well as one-on-one academic advisement, with consideration for other variables that can influence academic. Perhaps the greatest utility of the Mbti is to reinforce appreciation of the diversity of perspectives and preferences that exist among students. Okay. Conclusion. A small number of studies made our inclusion. Okay, firstly, the ability their disparate methodology and large analysis. 3 studies of retest reliability of subscripts, higher generality, and guarding analysis produce acceptable correlation coefficients from population 6 and 7 studies are counting. Well, the evidence is an ongoing task. The Mbti has one. Nice. Well, with that being said, we've been streaming for a while, and I guess I should go outside and actually see the sun. So, it was nice seeing these different measurements. I didn't get to find exactly what I wanted. I think with a little more research we could find different relationship status with correlation between these 60 personality traits. We did find the big 5 with marital status or satisfaction, and that was interesting. Definitely. So yeah, gotta say, pretty cool. Also interesting to find out that 50% of my dysfunctional personality comes from my parents. So yeah, that's pretty nice. Anywho, I I don't know why I'm waving. There's no camera there. But I'll see you guys